Running, jumping, leaping towards love. A Miraculous Ladybug Adrienette Fanfiction, Part 9.
Kid, you're going to burn a hole in your rug. Calm down,
Plag drawled as Adrien promptly ignored the Kwami.
This doesn't make sense,
the blonde muttered over and over. Plag raised a curious brow up at his now crazed owner, but dismissed any thoughts of, actually helping him find his mind. Instead, Plag wolfed down more cheese. Adrien needed to refill his stash in a day or so, and that was all the Black Kwami was really caring about at the moment. Adrien, however, had what he believed was more pressing matters, though the Kwami would argue otherwise.
It can't be possible, can it?
The blonde wondered out loud. Plag stared at him for a second.
You want to fill me in or not? He snapped.
Again, though, he was ignored.
It does explain some things, but not others.
Adrien continued to speak like a madman.
She was never there, and then shows up later winded, and her excuse is to leave.
Oh, it was all going now. All of the wheels were churning, and boy, were they going fast. Finally, logic and facts were winning out over doubt. And, probably just sheer blindness.
Plag, is Ladybug's Kwami also a ladybug? Like how you're a kitty cat?
Adrien asked. Plag glowered at him.
1. I am not a kitty cat. I am a Kwami. 2. Yeah, of course,
he snapped at his owner. Adrien felt a grin make its way onto his face. It was all so clear now.
I think I know who Ladybug is,
Adrien smiled and said proudly. Plag spit out his cheese in just pure shock. Adrien felt himself go on alert because Lord knows the day Plag spits out cheese was the day the world ended.
You're crazy, kid,
Plag snarled at him, but Adrien wasn't at all affected. Judging by the reaction Plag gave, he was close to the answer.
No, I'm not. I believe I know who she is,
Adrien continued with confidence, though it was shaking a bit since his evidence was rather weak. Plag shook his head.
You don't know who she is. You're just getting yourself excited over nothing, kid,
Plag continued the charade.
I saw her Kwami,
Adrien cut in bluntly. Plag didn't say a word. He was frozen in midair.
How?
The black cat Kwami asked suspiciously. Adrien took a breath. He had to stay firm in what he knew. Plag would no doubt try and convince him that it was just a trick of light, or something like that.
I saw her antennae sticking out of Ladybug's hair. They were moving, and I saw the top of her head. It was a rather good disguise. If I haven't ever seen her Kwami, I wouldn't have realized it was her,
Adrien said. Plag scrutinized him silently.
Are you sure it wasn't some crazy hair-holding thing?
Plag asked slowly. Adrien nodded.
Yep, I'm sure it was Tiki.
The Kwami's expression didn't waver much.
Who do you think Ladybug is?
He asked slowly.
Adrienette.
It seemed like barely a second before Plag began to laugh hysterically, even going as far as flying around. Sure, he could laugh all he wanted to.
You think she's Ladybug? That's ludicrous, even for you,
Plag cackled. Adrien shook his head.
No, it has to be her. The hair, the eye color, it's so obvious.
Adrien watched Plag carefully to see if he would grow nervous or something.
Kid, She falls flat on her face every day. And that's not a bad thing or anything, but we both know Ladybug is agile as ever, and she's shy. Does Ladybug seem shy?
Plag said, trying to disprove what Adrien had learned.
Have you seen her stand up to Chloe? That's Ladybug right there. Plag rolled his eyes. Or maybe that's just girls getting into a cat fight. Alia reacts the same way. Is she Ladybug?
Plag shook his head, not even waiting for an answer before saying no.
Marinette hasn't been akumatized, Adrien pointed out.
Now that caught Plag off guard. He racked his brain to think of anyone else who had possibly not been akumatized. God, this was more of Tiki's domain. Why was he stuck with the curious kitten, much less lovesick kitten?
Neither has her mother, or Alia's mother, or almost anyone's mother. Are you sure you're not crushing on your classmate's mother or something? Man, that's weird.
Plag cackled, flying away from Adrien's hands as the blonde groaned and swatted the air.
No, I'm not. I'm sure we're the same age. But fine, maybe I'm wrong. Marinette probably isn't Ladybug,
Adrien said with a defeated sigh. Adrien hung his head so quickly, Plag gave a sigh of relief.
Ha! Adrien jumped up and shouted. She is Marinette, he cried out.
Plag sputtered. The kid must have seen the sigh.
I'm right. I know who she is. Yes!
Adrien said excitedly. He whooped loudly, which in turn made Natalie knock on the door to ask if he was okay and who he was talking to.
No, I'm fine. Just won a game, that's all, Adrien lied, and he waited for Natalie's footstep to trail away before clapping his hands excitedly. Wait, I know who she is, but she doesn't know who I am. Oh my God.
Adrien's logic finally kicked in. He ran his hands down his face.
She hates me. What if I tell her and she hates me even more? He muttered to himself.
Now Plag was in a bit of a conundrum. Not as extreme as Adrien, though. Adrien was kind of overdramatic, so maybe it was as extreme as Adrien's. Tiki was for sure going to skin him alive for allowing Adrien to figure out who Ladybug actually was. But then again, she couldn't speak. It was a heck of a situation, especially since it had blown over Adrien's mind that Marinette had indeed seen him flying around the locker room weeks ago. So odds were, since Marinette was about 10% less of a fool than Adrien, she knew his identity too.
Ah, what a disaster.